the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
Thank you for your hospitality. I'm very much looking forward to this. A paradigm, in the context of scientific communities, refers to a set of theories, methods, and practices that are widely accepted as the norm within a given field. It is a shared framework that defines the way scientists approach and solve problems in their area of study. The key distinction between a paradigm and mere scientific consensus is that a paradigm is more than just an agreement on specific findings or conclusions. It provides a broader understanding of assumptions, methodologies, and the overall conceptual structure of a discipline. In identifying a shift in a scientific paradigm, one of the key criterion is when new, more robust empirical evidence is found that cannot be explained by the existing theories and frameworks, forcing scientists to reconsider their understanding of the field and leading to significant changes in their concepts and methods. Additionally, a shift in the scientific paradigm often involves a fundamental change in the worldview and assumptions underlying the discipline, leading to new theoretical frameworks and models that better explain the empirical data. Paradigm shifts are not necessarily always driven solely by empirical anomalies. While empirical anomalies often serve as the catalyst for questioning existing theories and opening the door to new research, social and cultural factors can also play a crucial role in bringing about paradigm shifts. The history of science has shown that cultural and social factors, such as the availability of resources, funding priorities, and even power dynamics within the scientific community, can greatly impact the emergence and acceptance of new scientific paradigms. In practice, the distinction between normal science and revolutionary science is often seen in the way scientists approach and solve problems within their respective fields. Normal science is characterized by the routine application of established theories, methods, and techniques to solve problems or answer questions that fit within the existing paradigm. Revolutionary science, on the other hand, involves a fundamental challenge to the prevailing paradigm and the introduction of new concepts, hypotheses, and methods to address novel or inexplicable phenomena that cannot be adequately explained within the existing framework. The answer to this question is not a simple yes or no, as there is no absolute requirement for a single discipline to have only one prevailing paradigm. It is possible for different subfields within a discipline to operate under different paradigms, depending on their unique historical, cultural, and intellectual contexts. For example, within the field of physics, there have been instances where different paradigms coexisted for a period before eventually replacing each other as more evidence emerges. This can be seen in the shift between classical mechanics to quantum mechanics and the ongoing debates between the Copenhagen interpretation and alternative interpretations of quantum mechanics. Critics who argue that the concept of a paradigm is too vague to be analytically useful often point to the potential for multiple interpretations and definitions of the term, as well as the challenges in applying the concept consistently across different scientific disciplines. However, proponents of the paradigm concept argue that the concept is a useful tool for understanding the evolution of scientific thought, particularly in disciplines that have undergone significant paradigm shifts. They contend that the concept helps to identify common patterns and processes in the development of scientific ideas, without necessarily prescribing fixed or universal definitions. Paradigm shifts in science can be both progressive and regressive in nature. While shifts can lead to new understandings, advancements, and growth in scientific knowledge, they can also result in the rejection of previous insights and the loss of knowledge. Paradigm shifts can sometimes lead to the discarding of existing theories or hypotheses that still had practical value, or they can cause a temporary halt in certain areas of research as the field adjusts to the new paradigm. Ultimately, whether a paradigm shift is progressive or regressive depends on the specific context and the net impact it has on the accumulation of scientific knowledge in the long term. The persistence of outdated paradigms in the face of contradictory evidence can often be attributed to a variety of factors. These can include, among others, cognitive biases, such as the propensity to cling to established beliefs and the resistance to change, as well as social factors, such as the power dynamics within the scientific community and the potential loss of status or reputation that may result from challenging the dominant paradigm. Additionally, the complexity of scientific knowledge and the difficulty in establishing clear, conclusive evidence can play a significant role in the persistence of outdated paradigms. Yes, it is possible for technological advancements to trigger paradigm shifts in a scientific discipline. The development of new tools and technologies can open up new avenues of research, reveal previously undetectable phenomena, and enable the collection of data that can challenge established theories and lead to a shift in the scientific paradigm. For example, the development of the microscope and the telescope allowed scientists to observe and study previously invisible worlds, leading to significant paradigm shifts in biology, astronomy, and physics. Paradigm shifts are not necessarily uniform across all scientific fields and can vary in their nature and occurrence depending on the discipline in question. Different fields have their own unique histories, methodologies, and conceptual frameworks, and these differences can influence the way paradigm shifts occur in each discipline. For example, the shift from classical to quantum mechanics in physics was significantly different in nature and scale from the shift from the geocentric model of the solar system to the heliocentric model in astronomy. Puzzle solving plays a central role in maintaining the stability of what Kuhn termed normal science. Normal science is characterized by the stable advancement of research within the context of an established paradigm, and puzzle solving helps to reinforce the dominant paradigm by allowing researchers to make sense of new data and experimental findings within the confines of the current framework. It allows for ongoing refinement and expansion of the existing theory without challenging the underlying assumptions of the paradigm, thereby maintaining stability in the scientific field. Normal science is generally considered to be somewhat conservative in its approach, as it relies on the existing frameworks and methods to solve problems and interpret new data. This conservatism is necessary for the stable advancement of research within a paradigm, but it can sometimes hinder more radical innovations and paradigm-shifting discoveries. However, within the confines of a given paradigm, normal science can also lead to incremental changes and advances that pave the way for future radical innovations. Normal science is inherently dependent on a clearly defined paradigm. The term normal science itself was coined by Thomas Kuhn to describe the activity of scientists working within an accepted framework of theories and methods. Without a well-defined paradigm, there would be no stable framework within which normal science could operate and make incremental advances. Therefore, the notion of normal science depends on the existence of a stable paradigm that provides the necessary foundation for scientific research and development. In Kuhn's theory of scientific paradigm shifts, the process of normal science typically does not lead directly to the falsification of a paradigm. Instead, normal science operates within the confines of an established paradigm and works to refine and extend that paradigm by solving puzzles and addressing anomalies. Paradigm shifts and the potential falsification of a paradigm are more likely to occur in what Kuhn referred to as a revolution, during which a new paradigm emerges to challenge or replace the existing one. In the context of normal science, funding structures can significantly influence the kinds of problems tackled by scientists. Funding sources often prioritize research that is seen as more likely to lead to practical applications, and this can lead to a focus on certain problems and fields within science. This means that scientists may be incentivized to work on problems that are perceived to have more immediate and tangible outcomes, or that are more likely to bring in additional funding in the future. This can sometimes result in certain problems being overlooked or underfunded, and can shape the direction of research within a field. For a scientific revolution to succeed in overturning an established paradigm, several conditions must be met. First, a critical mass of anomalous data or unexplainable observations must accumulate, which becomes increasingly difficult for the existing paradigm to explain or reconcile. Second, an alternative paradigm must offer a more comprehensive explanation for the anomalous data, as well as the ability to generate new predictions and explanations that surpass those of the existing paradigm. Lastly, the scientific community must be willing to accept and adopt the new paradigm, which can be a challenging process due to vested interests and resistance to change. Yes, scientific revolutions are often primarily driven by younger scientists, and this can be due to several factors. First, younger scientists tend to be less committed to or invested in the existing paradigm, as they have less experience and may have a fresh perspective on the field. They are also more likely to be open to new ideas and less afraid of challenging established ideas, as they have less to lose in terms of reputation and status. Additionally, older scientists may be set in their ways and less willing to entertain revolutionary changes, as they have more to risk in terms of professional achievements and social status within the scientific community. In Kuhn's model of scientific paradigms, a scientific revolution typically occurs only when there is a significant crisis or breakdown in the existing paradigm, such as an accumulation of anomalies that cannot be explained or a failure to generate new discoveries. This crisis serves as a catalyst for the emergence of a new paradigm that can better account for the anomalies and generate new insights. Therefore, a scientific revolution is not likely to occur in the absence of a crisis in the existing paradigm. Competing paradigms gain traction within a scientific community resistant to change by gradually building a body of evidence and credibility over time. This can involve the publication of new research, the replication of successful experiments, and the demonstration of the parsimony and predictive power of the paradigm compared to the existing one. As more and more evidence mounts, some members of the scientific community may begin to support the new paradigm, even if a majority remains skeptical. Additionally, high-profile endorsements from respected scientists can also help to increase the visibility and credibility of a competing paradigm within the community. Scientific revolutions can yield both progressive and regressive outcomes for the advancement of knowledge. On the one hand, they can lead to a significant leap forward in understanding and explanation, overthrowing outdated theories and paving the way for new insights and discoveries. On the other hand, the upheaval caused by a scientific revolution can sometimes lead to the rejection of valuable insights or the loss of knowledge that was previously taken for granted within the existing paradigm. Additionally, the paradigm shift can disrupt the momentum of research and cause temporary confusion as scientists readjust to the new paradigm. The claim that scientific revolutions are more about power dynamics than truth is a contentious one. While it is true that power dynamics and social influences can play a role in shaping scientific discourse and decision-making, ultimately, the validity of a scientific revolution is rooted in empirical evidence and the ability of the new paradigm to better explain and predict reality. Power dynamics may shape the process through which a revolution occurs or the way in which it is presented, but the ultimate arbiter of truth in science is the scientific method and the weight of the evidence. A scientific revolution, according to Kuhn, can occur in isolation from broader societal support. In fact, Kuhn argues that the scientific community is somewhat immune to external pressures and political influences, and that the course of normal science and by extension, scientific revolution is primarily determined by empirical data, methodological decisions, and social factors internal to science. This is not to say that broader support is never a factor in the emergence of a scientific revolution, only that it is not a necessary condition. When two paradigms are deemed incommensurable, it means that they are so different in their basic assumptions, methods, and concepts that it becomes difficult or even impossible to compare, evaluate, or integrate them in any meaningful way. This incommensurability is not absolute, and to some degree, it can be overcome through the process of paradigm translation. Paradigm translation involves the reinterpretation or reformulation of one paradigm into the language and concepts of another, allowing for the comparison and evaluation of the two. The incommensurability of paradigms poses a challenge to the traditional notion of rational choice in science, as it implies that the standards by which scientists evaluate and compare paradigms are relative to the paradigm itself. In this case, scientists cannot rely on a single objective standard for making rational choices between paradigms. Instead, they must engage in a process of argumentation and persuasion, where they use arguments and evidence that are meaningful within their own paradigm, but may not resonate or be persuasive to proponents of the competing paradigm. The idea of incommensurability does not inherently imply that progress in science is entirely relative, but it does suggest that the progress made within one paradigm may not carry over seamlessly to another, and vice versa. This is because each paradigm operates within its own set of assumptions, methods, and standards, which shape what counts as progress. While scientific progress can still be judged against some objective criteria, such as the ability to explain and predict phenomena, the specific path of progress may vary between paradigms. Incommensurability can, to some extent, be overcome through the process of translation or interdisciplinary dialogue. Translation involves interpreting and reformulating the concepts and insights of one paradigm in the language and framework of another, while interdisciplinary dialogue enables communication and exchange of ideas across different fields and paradigms. These approaches allow for the comparison, evaluation, and integration of different paradigms, albeit with certain limitations and difficulties. The question of whether paradigms can be partially commensurable is a topic of ongoing debate within the philosophy of science. Some proponents of Kuhn's theory argue that the incommensurability between paradigms is a binary state, meaning that two paradigms are either completely commensurable or completely incommensurable. However, others have suggested that it is possible for two paradigms to share some common ground or overlap, even while remaining distinct and irreducible to each other. This partial commensurability, if it exists, would challenge the strict incommensurability thesis and require a revision of Kuhn's theory to account for this middle ground. Incommensurability as a concept in the philosophy of science is largely considered to be a philosophical notion rather than something that can be empirically tested. The very nature of incommensurability, as a state of incommensurable difference between paradigms, makes it difficult to capture in empirical terms. Therefore, it is primarily addressed through philosophical analysis and argumentation rather than through experimental testing or data collection. Scientific paradigms and technological paradigms differ in their development and change in several ways. Scientific paradigms are primarily driven by advances in theoretical understanding and empirical evidence, while technological paradigms are driven by innovation and practical applications. Scientific paradigms tend to change more gradually, with new theories building on and extending existing ones, while technological paradigms may experience more rapid change as new technologies displace older ones. Additionally, scientific paradigms are primarily concerned with describing and explaining phenomena, while technological paradigms are focused on creating tools and solutions for practical problems. Public perception, political pressures, and broader social and political factors can play a significant role in shaping scientific revolutions and the adoption of new paradigms. While the driving force of a scientific revolution is often internal to the scientific community, it can be influenced by external factors such as public opinion and political backing. For example, the acceptance and widespread adoption of the Copernican heliocentric model, which replaced the geocentric model, was influenced by the political and religious power of the Catholic Church. Ethical considerations can play an important role in the development and acceptance of new paradigms in science. Scientists are expected to adhere to strict ethical guidelines when conducting research, particularly in areas involving human or animal subjects. New paradigms might raise ethical concerns such as potential harm to subjects or negative social consequences. Additionally, ethical considerations can impact the allocation of research resources and the direction of scientific research. For example, public perception of certain research areas, such as stem cell research, can impact funding and the pace of scientific progress. Linguistic paradigms refer to the patterns of grammatical categories, such as nouns, verbs, and adjectives, that reflect the structure of a particular language. These paradigms provide a framework for how words interact and combine within a language. For example, English verb paradigms distinguish infinitive forms, to walk, to run, present tense forms, I walk, he walks, and past tense forms, I walked, he walked. These paradigms are essential for understanding and producing grammatically correct sentences in a given language. In fields like artificial intelligence, which are still in the process of establishing foundational principles and methodologies, Kuhn's theory can help us understand how different schools of thought and approaches, or paradigms, compete and evolve over time. As new techniques and algorithms are developed, they may challenge existing paradigms and lead to the emergence of new ones. The process of evaluating and selecting among these paradigms is influenced by factors such as their predictive power, simplicity, and ability to solve real-world problems. Over time, the field may converge on a dominant paradigm, as has happened in other emerging scientific or technical domains. In modern science, the increasing popularity of citizen science and non-expert participation raises questions about the extent to which these contributions can influence paradigm shifts. While citizen science can provide valuable data and insights, which can potentially inform and challenge existing scientific paradigms, the acceptance of paradigm shifts typically requires the endorsement of established experts and institutions. This is because the process of paradigm shift involves not only the accumulation of new evidence, but also the integration of that evidence within the broader intellectual and social context of the scientific community. Thank you for preparing these thoughtful and informative questions. They were challenging and provided an engaging discussion.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No light, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just the beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw. Pure and raw. Turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Pure and raw.
Okay.